start again. It's a rich thing.
All right, we're back. It is very, very, very cold this morning. It's about 10 degrees, maybe a little less than that. The sun starting to come up though, and it is going to be a bluebird day, but it is going to be cold. I don't think it's going to get above 30 today. We are building a shed. It's a canvas covered shed that we purchased, got a good deal on, and we need a place to store some equipment, work on vehicles, things like that. So we've already kind of started construction. This is over here bolting it up, and we've already got a couple of the trusses kind of in place, ready to tighten up. She's finishing out the last two. Everything kind of comes in this box. We've got the kind of the smaller pieces set aside.
tell them we decided to tear it all apart and start from the beginning.
Back. It is not as cold as the other day. It's probably about 20 degrees warmer, surprisingly. Yesterday we fought with our water and made a bunch of improvements, ran some more heat trace through that we had extra left over. Got that shored up. But today is a new day. We are back on our canopy build, and we are going to attempt to anchor some of these posts in the ground, which I'm pretty sure is going to be a difficult task because the ground is obviously frozen. And but if we can get some of these stakes to start driving, it could actually wind up being a good thing to hold them down long term. So what we're going to have to do is, this whole side of the structure is off. It leans a little bit this way for some reason. This side is actually universally straight. When I say that, I'm talking about all the way through. The skeleton structure is pretty straight. So we're going to start our trial for anchoring down this side. Then if we're successful there, then we'll move to this side, loosen up some of the supporting structure, straighten it, anchor it, call it a day. And then we'll start putting our canvas up. So that's what we're doing.
Yay!
Yay.
We're so excited to be here.
I'm telling you.
I have my boot warmers
It's cold.
right here.
We filmed some time lapses, fast time lapses of us putting together our shed, whatever we call it, the circus tent. So it is kind of a tent. It's a PVC, reinforced PVC. It's very tough stuff. I mean, it was almost impossible to drag up over the top after we built the frame and everything. The front side and the back side weren't too bad. So anyway, we just thought we'd do a little closeout here to show you what we did. Obviously we hung the front and the back, and then we pulled the top over twice because we had some difficulties and there were some things that weren't clear in the manual that we had to redo, so we just took it off. It's got these zippers for doors, so you got like personal entry, and then if you've got like equipment, you can come through the middle. It's like 12 feet high or something like that. So if you come inside, we'll show you. So you can see the frame. Obviously you saw in the time lapses us putting all that together. That's all bolted, and then you have spikes, 3 spikes at each foot that hold it in the ground, and then there's galvanized pipe that goes through the bottom, and then it's basically a ratchet strap that holds that part down, and that helps hold the roof down and tighten it up. And I imagine we'll have to tighten these over time. It's kind of cold, so this PVC is not stretching real well, but you can see the ropes where you have to tie the front and then the roof to the frame at the ends. Okay, so then you have like steel reinforcements here. It's kind of funny, the directions showed it putting it in here, but almost every picture of a similar unit, obviously they were bigger, showed them being on the side. So we're going with the directions. You probably saw us lifting this thing, the roof section. We built it on the ground, and then we put the we basically picked the roof section up with the telehandler, and then we attached each of the vertical anchors to the ground, and then we just basically bolted that all together and set it in place. We had to square everything, and square is a loosely driven term on Starlight Acres because the ground is so uneven, and we kind of needed this really quick because we had an emergency job that we needed to do on one of the vehicles, and we did not want to be doing that out in the snow and the rain, and we're very glad that we did that because it really kind of came in clutch for that purpose. Kept the rain off of us, even though it was kind of muddy in here. The ground is frozen right now because it's like 25 degrees, but definitely helped. We threw a tarp on the ground under the Jeep to do the work, and hung a light right here, which is pretty nice. We've got these kind of cheap LED, 5,000 lumen LED fluorescents. So anyway, the thing works. I mean, it's not on the most stable ground, and you know, we may have to reset the spikes every once in a while, but the unit functions the way that it should. This is going to be temporarily permanent. We'll keep it out here because we definitely need a structure like this from time to time. We're going to have, you know, inclement weather. We're going to have the need to do you know, regular maintenance on all of our equipment and vehicles and stuff like that. So it's really going to come in very, very handy for that purpose. I'm satisfied with it for the money that we paid for it, even though it was a very difficult thing to try to figure out and put together. I know it doesn't seem that way, but when you're trying to square this thing and close gaps and things like that, it just, when you're dealing with a structure this big, it gets very difficult.
The total weight of this was, and how big was it?
I think the total weight is like a little shy of 2,000 pounds. It's like 1,800 pounds. And then the structure size is 20 by 20. And then I think at the highest openings, like 12 feet. Even though the peak is probably 14 or 15 feet, you have to go by these bars, these support bars for the trusses, and those are right at 12 feet. And but they were great for hanging lights and things like that. That really came in handy for doing work, especially when we're doing work when there's no light. And there were a few nights of that out here, and it really did come in very handy for that. Like I said, I'm satisfied for the money that we paid for it. You know, it will serve the purpose here for now. Once we get some like pads built and all of that, this thing will definitely get relocated.
How did you enjoy putting the stakes in the ground and retaking them back out?
I needed a shoulder transplant after that.
How long were the stakes?
They're about 30 inches long, and they're basically a nut welded onto a piece of rebar. That's all they did. And yeah, we had to take a few out because we were out of square on a couple of the anchors. I think I had to take out like 2 or 3 bases after we finally got things set in place. And yeah, that was my like I said, I needed a shoulder transplant after that. Even though I was only throwing a 3-pound sledgehammer, the ground is frozen. There's rocks in the ground. I mean, there's just all kinds of crap you hit in the ground. And it, you know, once you get them moving, they move. But man, it was a workout, let's just say that. And I wish I was more ambidextrous. That way I could have been like working on the railroad. But
how many times you guesstimated how many times you
I guess between 3,000 and 5,000 swings between all of the do's and redos that I had on this thing. And I mean, my shoulder was absolutely wiped out. My arm was wiped out. When you're doing that much repetitious movement, it's almost like the old Popeye thing, you know, where he has like the strong arm and then the flabby arm. I feel like my left arm was the flabby arm, other than me striking my hand twice with that sledgehammer because it slipped and missed. It doesn't make, you may not be able to tell now. It's definitely bruised, still bruised. Yeah. But it was, man, it was very sore, and my hand was very sore from, you know, holding those spikes and taking the ping, 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 ping.
I had to hold the spike only once.
Yeah, it just wasn't a fun. I can tell you there are probably, I really sympathize, because we see guys that are working on the railroad, literally working on the railroad, because there's major railroad tracks, you know, probably 10, 12 miles from here. But we see those guys out there working in the snow and in the cold and in the rain. And let me tell you, I know those guys are out there pulling railroad spikes and stuff like that. And I'm sure they have cranes and stuff to help them, yes. But I'm sure there is a certain amount of manual labor that goes along with that is not fun in the cold, and I can definitely sympathize with that, because when we were putting the skeleton structure together, it really wasn't bad. I have, I have impacts and deep well sockets and all of that stuff, and that was very easy. We got a telehandler. We were able to lift the trusses and put everything together. That went very, very smoothly. Everything after that was hard, very much so.
The canvas.
And the do's and the redos on the spikes were part of that. We had a redo on the canvas roof portion, but I think we got that fairly sorted out. I mean, it's way better than it was. I mean, we definitely spared everyone the details on that. But yeah, so satisfied. It's gonna come in very handy. We may put like some gravel in here and try to kind of halfway level this out. It's got a high spot at the back and a couple of low spots, and it doesn't drain real well. And we do get rain here, so if we can keep that water to the edges of this thing with some gravel, just put a little 2-inch base in here, something like that. I mean, it'll really help make this a much more usable structure. So anyway, thanks for following along on this and listening to us gripe, moan, and complain. See you on the next video.